I am doing my Transferrable Skills project on the single joint deadlift. To start the single joint deadlift, you're going to start with your feet shoulder width apart. Throughout the movement, you should keep your head in neutral spine with your shoulders back and your back straight, not overly arched or overly rounded. You're also going to push your hips or glutes back before you start and keep your chest proud throughout the movement. To start the movement, bend your knees and engage your quadriceps and gluteus maximus in knee flexion as you pick up the bar. This part of the movement is a multi-joint deadlift because you're using two of your joints, your hips and your knees. Like a squat, your knees should make an angle of approximately 90 degrees. Pick up the bar with your hands gripping the bar shoulder width apart, arms straight, and bring up the bar so your knees and hips are in full extension. To do the single joint deadlift portion of this movement, keep your shoulders back and chest proud with your glutes pushed back, and bend or hinge from the hips. Remember to keep neutral spine the whole time, which means your spine is not overly rounded or overly arched. Keep your head also in neutral spine. Try to keep the bar as close to your shins as possible as you bend from the hips, engaging the hamstrings. To finish, bring the bar back up to full hip extension. The main muscles used in a single joint deadlift are the quadriceps to extend the knee joint, the hamstrings, gluteus maximus, and biceps femoris in hip extension, and the latissimus dorsi and erector spinae are engaged in the lower back to allow you to bend at the hips and to keep the spine from rounding. There are three main joints that are used in a single joint deadlift. The first one is your hips. Your hips are used to hinge and come back up during the single joint deadlift portion of the movement, and they are also used to bend with the knees to pick up or put down the bar during the multi-joint deadlift portion of the movement. Your knees are also used and are flexed during the first and last repetition to pick up or put down the bar. This is during the multi-joint deadlift portion of the movement. As well, your ankles are used during this movement to stabilize. Therefore, the muscle recruitment pattern to do this movement starts off with the quadriceps and knee flexion. Then the gluteus maximus, hamstrings, and biceps femoris work in your hip extension. Finally, throughout the whole movement, your latissimus dorsi and erector spinae are stabilizing your spine and keeping it from rounding. The form cues to finish a set of this movement and put the bar back on the ground are the same as to pick up the bar. They are as follows. Bend your knees and engage your quads and glutes in knee flexion as you put the bar back on the floor. This is a multi-joint deadlift. Make sure to keep your back straight, shoulders back, and head in neutral spine. The reason why I do the single joint deadlift is because hurdling requires a lot of endurance, power, flexibility, and stability. This deadlift strengthens my back muscles, which are very important for stabilizing me while I'm running. As well, strengthening my hamstrings, gluteus maximus, and quadriceps with the deadlift will give me more power and endurance in a race. Deadlifts also increase hamstring flexibility, which is very important for getting over a hurdle. As well, I will have less of a chance of pulling a hamstring while going over a hurdle by doing a deadlift and increasing my hamstring flexibility. As well, doing base lifts like the deadlift will strengthen major muscle groups, which will make me faster and more powerful in my race because my muscles will be stronger and can endure more before giving out. As well, the muscle recruitment pattern of a deadlift mimics the running stride in my sport. For example, first my quadriceps and glutes work in bringing up my foot and to flex my knee. This is just like when I bend down and flex my knees to pick up the bar in a deadlift. Then my hamstrings work to extend my leg. This also happens in the middle section of a deadlift when I come up after picking the bar. And finally, my hamstrings, glutes, and biceps femoris work to bring my leg back down and extend my hip when my foot hits the ground. This is just like when I extend my hip at the top of a deadlift rep. Throughout the whole stride, my latissimus dorsi and erector spinae are working to stabilize my body, which is exactly the same as the stabilizing in a deadlift. Some next steps that I need to refine in my technique for a single joint deadlift are that I need to keep the bar closer to my legs. This is because keeping the weight closer to your body is safer and better for your back. As the load increases, it will be harder to do this, so I should get into this good habit while the load is still light. Another thing I need to refine is that I need to keep my head in neutral spine the whole time. Throughout this movement, I normally look in the mirror or look straight ahead of me, which is wrong. To keep your spine safe, your head should be in line with your spine, which means looking slightly down instead of straight ahead.